Hey, what's going on, guys? You're now watching the greatest channel that has ever existed. My name is 𝘰𝘰𝘯𝘕𝘺𝘰, and I truly appreciate you guys for being here with me. Today, I'm here with Dylan from Phiat. Phiat is a PulseChain based cryptocurrency that is in development right now, and it's awaiting for when the PulseChain Pulse network comes out. Dylan can introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm 𝘊𝘰𝘯𝘕𝘺𝘰 Dylan. I've been around in the community for a couple of years now, since in Hex since the beginning, and then in crypto in general since late 2017. I watched Bitcoin top in Christmas, or near the Christmas time. I was watching some random ticker website. It had like 4 exchanges on it that you could swap between, and then it would show you an order book and then the price action and stuff like that. I saw all these volume inflows and just the volatility in general, and I was hooked, right? So that's what got me into crypto. I found Richard Hart during the 2018 bear for a couple of his interviews. And I really liked his style and what he was saying and his messaging, right? Because he was saying a lot of very intelligent things back then, and was an extremely valuable source of information. And then kind of stuck around and got involved with the Hex community. Day one, I've been an admin for a bunch of the telegrams for, say, can you hear me? My mic cut off.
It went out, but it went back in. It came back in.
All right, cool. Yeah. So, I've been an admin for Richard Hart for, I don't know, maybe a little over a year and a half now, I guess, maybe 2 years. So been in the trenches.
Admin for Richard Hart or for Phiat, or I guess that's maybe one
both.
of them.
Yeah. So yeah. So I've been an admin for the Richard Hart community for almost about 2 years now. I kind of joined because I was seeing, or being an admin. The reason why I started being an admin was because I was in the Hex trading chat, in the trenches, enjoying it for the most part, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of the some of the well-spoken guys that were really intelligent were getting banned for having opposing viewpoints, right? So I became an admin to kind of advocate for their unbanning, I guess you could say, to kind of stick up for the unspoken. So that's that was my entire reason for being an admin. And now we're here.
Sounds good. Sounds interesting, actually. So I'm guessing that you got into crypto in 2017.
I did. Yeah. The first thing I bought was Ethereum.
Okay. Crazy. Yeah. The first thing that I bought was Cardano, actually.
Really? Okay.
That's my very first coin, but I bought, Ethereum and Bitcoin afterwards.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing, like the rest of us, you went gung-ho in it and then it crashed.
Yeah, man. I bought Ethereum at like first buy was at like $500. Then it was at $700. Mm-hmm. And then like 900. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Okay.
Right.
I watched it go up top in January, and I was like, damn, this shit's going up. I'm not selling this shit for nothing, right? and then it crashed, naturally. I capitulated into Bitcoin before it fell below, before the Ether Bitcoin ratio fell below 0.06 ETH per Bitcoin. So, or however that converts over, and held Bitcoin for the rest of the bear. So.
Okay, nice. Yeah, me, I got into Ethereum when it was like something crazy low, like maybe $400, $300, and then it went up to like $1,400. And I held on just like you. I held on. I was like, oh, it's going to go to like 10,000. Yeah. And it crashed. And then by like June of 2018, I was like, this is trash. Crypto's horrible. Never going to do it again. So then I looked at it again, like maybe the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, right before Corona. I looked at it. I was like, I started studying Bitcoin like crazy, like 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, studying like crazy. And then I was like, all right, this is actually really good. The fundamentals are really good. It's just with a 4-year cycle. So the 4-year cycle is coming up. So I might as well get into it. And ever since then, I've been 100% into crypto.
Yeah, man. I really, I'm assuming you're alluding to the Bob Lucas videos, the 4-year cycles, the
No,
4-year
I mean,
cycle guy.
okay, I guess, but I'm just talking about the Bitcoin 4-year cycles itself.
Yeah. Anyways,
The halving that happens, yeah.
yeah, I digress.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure we could talk pretty much all day about our crypto journey. But yeah.
Yeah, let's get into this. Okay, so what exactly is Fiat?
So Fiat is a fork of Aave, kind of catered to the Richard Heart community and some of the lesser known, altcoins, I guess you could say, right? It is a revenue sharing platform. So, unlike Aave, when people, a portion of the fees, when people are using the platform, Fiat, when the borrower and lender are, negotiating. So like, okay, if you deposit funds, if you're a depositor, there's 3 ways you can play this. You can be a depositor, you can be a borrower, and you can be a staker. You can do all 3 of these things. But, if you're a borrower, you're basically like the person taking out a loan, at the bank or something like this, and you're given an interest rate. In the case of Fiat, you're probably going to be paying a variable interest rate loan, right? So depending on the market conditions, that loan can get more expensive or it can get cheaper. And your fees are being paid between the depositors and the stakers of the Fiat token, right? So, there's a spread between a deposit fee of like, say, 1%. So when you deposit your assets, you're getting paid 1%, from the borrowers, and then a borrower could be paying anywhere between, like 4%, say, right? Okay. And then, you have that margin left over that's being paid to the stakers of that. Yeah. So, there's many ways you can play this game. But simply put, it's like the bank, the DeFi bank for PulseChain, catered to the RH community, right? Because, I'm sure we're all aware that Aave does not support Hex. It doesn't support Hedron. Doesn't support, any of the Maxi stuff or anything like this, right? But
Heart coins, any of them.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's extremely valuable to allow somebody to, let's say, for example, somebody wanted to take a loan out on their Hex or something, right? Because they want to start something, like a business in real life, right? Or they wanted to just fund a lifestyle or something like this without selling their bags against themselves. Okay. Well, in this situation, you would deposit your Hex onto Fiat, then you would borrow a stable coin. You'd be paying an interest rate on that, of course. You send that to Coinbase, do what you got to do, pay it back at your own pace, and then you'd be able to get your Hex back without having to sell it, right? So that kind of opens up a lot of doors for just anybody in the community to do things like this, or speculation, arbitrage, all sorts of things. So
gotcha. So I'm guessing you've heard of something like called liquid loans, very similar to that.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Yeah, that allows you to borrow against your own assets. So what you're saying is that you guys allow us to put Hex as a collateral and then get back Fiat as a payment?
So yeah, so you can use a range of different assets that you can deposit and borrow between all of them, right? So for instance, let's say you had a lot of PulseX, okay? And you wanted to buy or you wanted to borrow some Hex for some reason. You could deposit PulseX and you can go borrow some Hex. Okay. You could also, let's say you have a lot of exposure to Hex. That's worth a lot, right? But you want to provide liquidity for the Pulse and PulseX pair. Okay. Well, what that would look like is you would deposit your Hex, and then you could borrow Pulse and PulseX against your Hex, right? So you'd be taking out 2 loans in this particular situation. And then, you post the liquidity, maybe you have a higher APY on your, liquidity play, right? So you're getting fees generated from that liquidity play, and then you're able to pay back your loan at your hopefully at a faster pace than you're being charged, right? And then that's some sort of maybe passive way that you could perhaps turn a profit, right? There's a range of different things that you can do with this stuff. A lot of people think that this would be a competitor to liquid loans, but in the general crypto space, nobody really looks at something like MakerDAO as a competitor to Aave, right?
Yeah,
it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They serve a specific purpose. They do a specific thing. They mint a stable coin, whereas Aave is like a bank. Okay, they serve two different markets. They do two different things, right? The only thing that they do have in common is they allow you to borrow against a coin, right? On a basic bare bones level, you're able to borrow against your Pulse on liquid loans, and you're able to do the same thing on Fiat, right? But with Fiat, you can use a range of different assets. So, a great example of this would be to go to the testnet, testnet.fiat.io, and just play around with it and get familiar with it. It's not too hard to grasp, but you simply deposit something and then you can borrow something else.
Okay, gotcha. By the way, are there any stable coins that me as a borrower can receive when let's say I stake Hex? Are there any stable coins that I can receive?
So when you're staking,
not staking, but you know what I'm saying, like
depositing
Hex as collateral.
Yeah, so if you're depositing Hex as collateral, and you're literally just a depositor and you're not staking Fiat or anything like that, you're just going to get more Hex, because people, the borrower is going to have to pay back Hex, and they're charged Hex on interest. They're having to pay that Hex interest, right? So now, if you wanted to get stablecoin exposure or Pulse, let's hypothetically speak, because we have testnet running. Let's say you have, like on testnet, you have Pulse, PulseX, Hex, 𝘰𝘰𝘯𝘕, 𝘊𝘰𝘯𝘰𝘮, and then USDC, I believe. That's what we have on testnet, right? So when you stake Fiat, as people borrow and loan, lend out these assets, you get a passive basket per se of all of these coins, right? So, if I were to pull up my my stake on testnet, you would see that I can claim Pulse, PulseX, Hex. I could claim all these coins right now, and then they'd be deposited to my collateral on Fiat automatically. So,
okay,
yeah,
gotcha. So I guess I have two questions then. I'm going to use Hex as collateral, and I could get back USD. You said if I use Hex as collateral, I can only get back Hex as payment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So imagine, you're a depositor, okay, and somebody is borrowing your asset, right? They're borrowing your Hex. They have to pay back Hex always, and they're being charged an interest rate in Hex. So if, let's say, a lot of people start borrowing a lot of Hex, that interest rate will start to climb up, because it's based on market conditions and how many people are borrowing, and versus the liquidity in the pool. So if the pool is completely borrowed out, you're going to be being paid handsomely for being a depositor. If nobody is borrowing, it's going to be extremely attractive for people to actually go and borrow Hex. Okay. Now, when they are borrowing these assets, they have to pay it back. They have to pay back the asset, including the interest for which they borrowed. So you can't take a Hex loan and pay back USDC. You can't do that. You'd have to go on the market, buy the Hex, and pay it back
in the Hex itself. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so then what's the benefit of doing a deposit versus doing a stake? Like if I deposit PulseX, I get back like, I don't know, 1%, 2%. But if I stake PulseX, don't I get back like 4% a year or something like that? Like, what's the benefit of doing deposit versus staking?
So when you're staking, you can only stake the fiat token, right? So if you want a share of the revenue, you would have to stake the actual fiat token itself.
Gotcha.
You know, a depositor, typically in the DeFi realm, what we've seen with Aave is most of the time you have really big players use this stuff. Okay, if people like 3AC, even Celsius use this. Aave, a notorious trader, he uses Aave. And they deposit billions of dollars of assets, and then they go and borrow against it at a very, typically small amount at a time, but they're, millions of dollars, right? And then they go and speculate with that stuff and go play around. So, if you're one of those people and you just want some passive APY, you'd be a depositor. Now, if you're, wanting a basket of assets and perhaps betting on the cash flow of the fiat platform itself, then at that point you would want to own the fiat token and then stake it naturally, right? So there's different ways you can play this game, right? You're not going to get probably a better APY being a depositor as you will being a staker, but you gotta have depositors so you can play the game. And naturally speaking, these whales, they want to keep their assets, and then they'll just naturally be depositors. So
I gotcha. Yeah, because it's less risky, but because it's less risky, you get less reward. But if you stake it with fiat, there's more reward, there's more APY that you get.
Yeah, and I mean, you're subject to price movement up and down. You're subject to the if there's any sort of exploit, right? Or if, the Aave code had some underlying issue that nobody has found yet. And then, we fork it and then all of a sudden, it's found, that would kind of suck, right?
Yeah.
There is risks with all of this stuff. Okay. Another risk, would be if PulseChain was a flop or something like this. But, thankfully, Phiat will be launching on Ethereum, targeting Q1. So that'll be exciting. Yeah. So you can participate in the famous SAC and get a allocation of eFiat for when it does actually launch on Ethereum. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I was about to ask too. That's my very next question. What exactly is Famous or Famous.io?
Yeah, so Famous.io is a leveraged trading DEX, for PulseChain, and same idea, catered to the Hex community, right? To the RH ecosystem. It is a derivative platform. So you have your spot trading with fiat that you can do, and then you have your derivative trading with Famous that you can do, and you can take out much more leverage on Famous, right? And it's a lot more user-friendly for anybody that does want to sort of hedge their positions or leverage trade, or get exposure to price movement of an asset, right? But yeah, it's a fork of GMX, which is up and running for about a year and a couple of months now. And year to date, its price performance has done spectacularly well. It's I think it's up 70% year to date in the bear market.
A fork of what?
It's a fork of GMX.
GMX. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. And GMX price performance has been doing very well. They have a revenue sharing design. It's a little bit different than what ours is, but basic concept. You get a portion of the fees as a GMX staker, et cetera, right? But it's been around for about a year. They've done about $120 million worth of fees generated in the last year on layer 2s, right? So it's not even on a mainnet. And, we'll have pretty much all of the same coins that they have. And then we'll also have the cater to the RH ecosystem. So, that's very exciting. We think that Famous will do hopefully quite well on PulseChain. So that'll be exciting.
Okay, nice, nice. By the way, what's the maximum leverage that you can do on
I'm sorry.
I said, what's the maximum leverage that you can do on Famous?
So on testnet right now, it's set at 30x leverage.
Okay, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So and on GMX, I think the leverage is set to 100x. So
Okay.
but
Well, I'm not
yeah,
that
I
good.
mean, what's great is with Famous, you have 3 ways to play the game as well. Again, you have the good old staking the Fame token, and getting 40% of the fees generated, right? You have, and you're basically betting on the cash flow of the asset, the future cash flow of the asset, because that's why you're buying the token, because you want a passive what is it called, staking rewards, right? Because you get them in all the tokens, same as fiat, right? So if people are trading a bunch of one asset or the other, you're going to get a lot more the fees generated in that particular asset. This
Gotcha.
goes both ways with fiat.
So you just get a basket of fees. You get a
Yep.
rewarding for like 5 different tokens.
Basically, yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, and you can, it's not like a hex stake where you have a time restraint, right? You can just leave that shit there and let it ride, and then just claim it every day if you wanted to, or you could claim it every hour, every month, every minute. I mean, you probably shouldn't claim it every minute because you might pay more in gas than you will in profiting from the claims. But you're more than willing or more than welcome to do so, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, anyways, so that's one way to play the Famous game, right? A second way is to be a liquidity provider on Famous. So much like how the PulseChain liquidity works, where you post your liquidity and you get a liquidity token in return, it works similarly to that with Famous, but you have a range of assets in the pool, right? So you have target weights in the liquidity pool, and it basically acts like an index. Okay, so for instance, if you go look on testnet, testnet.famous.io with a PH, you'll see on the dashboard the liquidity or the amount of assets that are deposited for users to be able to trade and stuff, right? Those are the liquidity pools. Okay, now you'll have target weights that are set, which is basically like a well diversified portfolio in the space, I guess that you could say. And so when you buy this liquidity token, you buy it directly with the contract, similarly to like posting liquidity on PulseX, except they don't call it buy, but in this, for all intents and purposes, it's called buy on testnet. So anyways, you buy this PHLP, right? As the liquidity pool grows, the supply grows. Okay. Unlike the Fame and Fiat token, which has a fixed supply, the PHLP token, which is the liquidity position on Famous, it is elastic, right? So it grows as more people deposit, and it shrinks as more people withdraw. Okay. And so as traders are trading, you're basically betting by providing liquidity. You're betting that the traders are going to lose, which typically, most of the time they do. They typically lose, whether or not they're terrible traders or whether or not these traders are taking out, mini insurance policies, I guess you could say, right, on hedging their positions and kind of protecting from upside movement or downside movement with leverage or something like this, right? But essentially, as people trade and as people get liquidated, you'll incur, I think, 60% of the fees by being a liquidity provider, right? And you could deposit one asset and you could withdraw with that PHLP token. You could withdraw a different asset over a period of time. So, it's not like, it's kind of very interesting on the things you can do with this stuff. But, that's another way to play the game, being a liquidity provider. And then the third would just be, you're a trader, you're trying to hedge your position. Let's say, you have a bunch of 555 stakes, right? And you're unable to sell when you see people dancing on coffins and, calling people out for being furus and saying, we win, right? And we're at the top and you're staked out, you can't sell. So something that you could use to protect your bag against the downside would be famous, right? You could leverage up with a smaller portion and protect against the downside with your stakes, which you cannot end, right? That's a very real possibility and a very real use case that you can use this stuff for. And then the same thing on the inverse. Say you're sitting on a lot of cash and you're seeing a lot of whales dumping the price endlessly. I mean, past couple of days, it's been pretty brutal, right?
Mhm.
So, you have a bunch of cash, you're kind of scared to buy yet, but you have this sneaking suspicion that we're close to the bottom.
Mhm.
So it would be valuable for you to, have the, take out a long with a small portion of your stack with, a levered position, right? As an insurance policy for if the price does rise, your entry would then be kind of protected from that price movement upwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's different ways you can use this stuff. It doesn't all have to be, degenerate gambling with high leverage, like a drug addict, right? Typically sophisticated investors use this stuff. So, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, me myself, I used to do trading a long time ago, but it's not worth it. You have to be an expert at it and you have to pay attention constantly. And like you said, most people, like 90% of traders lose money. So it's almost like it's much better to just stake or just hold it for a long time. Even Hex right now, I'm pretty sure that whales are just dumping nonstop to eventually buy some more. So it'll be smart to buy Hex right now, for example. What is it? It's a penny right now. So Hex is ridiculous. It's 2% of the price that it used to be, right? So it's much smarter to buy Hex or stake, stuff like that, instead of trying to do trading.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's less work too, to just
of course
buy quality assets that are very cheap. Another question too, what is Phaty? What is Phaty exactly?
Yeah, so Phaty is a passion project. Basically, it's a place where you'll be able to see all of your different assets across multiple different chains, and kind of bundle all of your wallets together, and keep track of everything that is going on in your entire portfolio across everything, right? So if you go on Phaty.io, and then you post your address, right, you'll be able to see what you got on testnet, on Ethereum, BNB, and a bunch of other different chains, all in one place, right? And the nice thing is it's a read-only wallet. So, it doesn't, you can't send transactions with this. You can't receive, you can't interact with your wallet besides just reading on what's going on with your stuff. Okay. There's some cool, bundles that we have. If you go on the website, you can go to public, or there's a little tab on the left where it says bundles, and then you can go and look at some of the different wallets that we've provided that you can go and just stock, I guess, right? But the general idea there with Phaty is it's kind of catering to the entire community. We're looking to support as many things as we can that are legitimate, right? So everyone in the community can send this stuff around and use it, be directed, to the Phiat website and see what their collateral is, what their debt position is. Maybe one day you'll have the famous stuff, on open positions and things like this, or like it already shows you liquidity positions that you have on PulseX. It'll show you liquidity positions that you have on SushiSwap v3, Uniswap v3, Uniswap v2. So the general idea here is so you can just really see what is going on with your portfolio.
Yeah, I'm even looking right now. I have some Fame token, although it's on the testnet. So right, but yeah. I have $10,000 worth of Fame token. I must have done that like maybe a couple months ago. I never knew that. Okay,
nice.
It's really interesting. Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, if you sacked for Phiat, then you did get free Fame token for your sack. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay, that's crazy.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, it's saying that I have to end this soon. I guess I forgot to upgrade my Zoom.
No worries.
So tell me something interesting about you personally, Dylan. Like, what do you like to do, or something besides crypto, I guess.
Well, I'm pretty involved with crypto at the moment. I really, really like crypto. But when I'm not doing crypto, I do like to play with cars and do outside activities with I guess motorsport stuff, right? I have a Blazer, a Chevy Blazer '02 that I've done a motor swap on. So it's got an LS motor in it now. It runs very fast. I actually raced the Hex Audi when they came into Florida, and I whooped its ass.
Okay.
Whooped its ass.
Nice.
And there's a video of it somewhere. If you look hard enough, you'll find it. But yeah, that was really fun. Yeah, I really enjoy racing and doing motocross stuff with off-road vehicles and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's those are my pastimes. Those are my hobbies. I like building stuff with my dad. Right, that we built the Blazer in the garage. That was really fun. I've been technically inclined, mechanically wise with cars for since I was a boy, right? So I've grown up around auto mechanics and things like that for a while. So
okay, sounds cool.
Yep.
Do you have any questions for me?
Sure. What are things that you like to do, sir? Outside of crypto, mind you.
I guess I should have been expecting that. Just go to bars and lounges with friends, stuff like that.
Right on.
I started CrossFit a couple months ago.
Cool.
It's very hard. It sucks, but I guess it's addicting. So
really?
I keep going. I don't know why. It's almost like your body tells you to go.
Interesting.
Even though you're in pain, right? It almost becomes a habit. I guess that's what it is.
Hey, it's not a bad habit, man. Shit.
It's not, right? But when I first started, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm paying all this money to make myself feel horrible. But after a while, you see the improvement. So it's like you said, it's a good habit.
Yeah, I mean, when I, a little while back when I started doing some office work and stuff and not really, doing any manual labor and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And, after a couple of months, I picked up a shovel and I was doing some yard work for a family member. And, fucking A, my ass was kicked after the doing that shit, right? But it felt good a couple hours later.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's the endorphins. You feel good afterwards, even though
man,
you're in pain.
You just felt good. Yeah. So I understand. I can get it. Why it's addicting.
Yeah. Well, Dylan, it was great talking to you. Hopefully we can do another interview in the future. Hopefully. Oh, yeah. Here's the most important question. When do you think PulseChain is going to be released? The number.
Sure. I think that. So I've been pressing a dev since late November on so we needed to add the logo to the fame token on testnet, right? So I asked him that in late November. He said to hold off because testnet will be soon, V3, and then he could just add it then. Okay. So I waited a couple weeks, and then I messaged him again in mid-December, so like the 14th. I said, "Hey man, did shit happen or what? Like, we would like to have the logo on testnet, on PulseX." And he said, and I asked him if V3 was actually coming out anytime soon, and he's like, "Yes, it's close." So that was the answer I got on the 14th. So maybe that'll come in the next few weeks. And then, I think since they pivoted, it'll take a couple of months after that. Maybe at the earliest, maybe we get it in, I don't know, March or April, maybe. But, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, so
since he said soon, December 14th, I'm guessing V3 will drop the middle of January.
I don't fucking know.
Maybe. It's been a guessing game since since the beginning of this year. It's been.
Yeah, man. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, it was great talking to you. Enjoyed this conversation. We should definitely do this again in the future.
Of course.
Yeah.